and foremost, how to be compelling, commanding, but also how to cash in every single time you speak. What are the 5 keys that our clients have used to build 6 and 7-figure incomes as speakers and experts in the last 24 months in some cases? So, I'm going to just take some, kind of jump right in today. I know a lot of people like to take a lot of time up at the front, and say, hey, put it in the chat box where you're from and so forth. If you want to write it in the chat box where you're from, help yourself. But I'm going to jump right in and start moving forward. I hope you have a pen and paper. Let's get rocking and rolling. So who is today for? Today is for coaches, consultants, but also entrepreneurs, business people. Doesn't matter what line of work you're in, whether you we work with a lot of clients that are lawyers and dentists and plumbers and all kinds of different lines of work. So whether you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, or you're a coach, consultant, therapist, something like that, solopreneur for lack of a better term, and you want to learn how to be a powerful world-class, I'm not just talking like an okay speaker. I'm not just talking like a, get by speaker, but you want to be a badass that moves people's souls and changes their lives. That is what we're looking for today. And you really want to start doing that on a huge scale, not just one-on-one anymore, but you want to start really working with people in the tens or in the hundreds or in the thousands. We're going to talk about all of that today so that you can share with them your knowledge, your expertise, your wisdom, your story, your message, your heart and soul. But you also want to be able to multiply your income with speaking, multiply that impact that you could have with speaking. So again, as I said, if you're new to this world, so to speak, we're going to be sharing some foundational principles today that are, going to make you a more effective communicator and speaker right off the bat. Those of you that are grads, though, I think what you're going to find is that some of the new stuff is going to be breakthrough kind of for you. But even if you think you've heard it before, if you're a graduate, here's what I'd like to encourage you to do as we jump into today. Whenever I'm on a session like this, listening in, participating, I always like to take notes. And when I find myself thinking to myself, I think I've heard that before. Oh, I've heard that before. Immediately, most of you know this about me that know me, I immediately say, but am I living it? Am I absolutely in 1,000% integrity with myself? Am I living this and doing this every single day? And if the answer is no, and it would benefit me to start living it and actually doing it, then I'd make a note and I start doing it that way. I'd like to encourage those of you that have been with us before, and even those of you that are first timers, listen and learn and participate. Today is not really going to be a presentation as much as it's going to be a conversation. So, you have the chat box there. You can ask questions or anything like that. If I have time, I'll be able to get to them. But this is going to be a really jam-packed, approximately hour that we're going to spend together. And so let's keep rolling. So in the next hour, you're going to find out how you can really begin to find your sweet spot. If you're new and you would just like to learn how to speak and work on skills, my belief is this. We all have a groove. We have a flow. We have who we are at our absolute best, that if we can bring that out when we're in front of a group of people, it literally will help melt away a lot of our stage fright and help us connect with the audience and light them up. And so we're going to talk about this groove and flow state quite a bit as we get into today. Also, we're going to talk about what are the 5 biggest mistakes that people make in speaking and in having a speaking or expert business, and how you can avoid them. In the next hour, we're going to talk about how to be a powerful speaker and a communicator that can also allow you to have the ultimate edge in business. So if you're a business owner, you're a solopreneur, something like that, you've got to master this skill. It's the master skill of leadership. What are also the secret keys right now? Right now in 2016, what are the keys to building a 6 and 7 figure business? Now, let me say something on that. Here's what I really believe. I really believe that most people in this industry, as in any industry, they fail because they don't do business. They don't build their business in the year that we live in, as Gary Vaynerchuk would say. Um, in other words, we're running around trying to build a speaking business, or people come to me all the time and they say, Joe, I want to get into the speaking business. Tell me, how did you do it? Frankly, that is completely irrelevant how I did it, because I did it in the late 90s. And if you went out and tried to do what we did in the late 90s to build businesses back then from scratch, you would not only would you probably fail, but more importantly, it would take you years to accomplish what you could do in months if you took advantage of the year that we live in, the technology that's available to us, all the different tools and everything that we're going to be talking about today that you can leverage to be able to build a business more quickly, more powerfully than ever before in history. As I said, though, a lot of people fail just because they're still trying to build their business as speakers, as experts, or as business people the way they did 10 years ago. Think about this for yourself. Are you doing stuff right now still in your business that you did 20 years ago or 15 years ago? You learned it and you're still trying to make the old ways work. Now, sometimes there are timeless principles for building a business. Don't get me wrong on that. But there are also nuances. And sometimes nuances can be even more powerful than some of the things that we consider to be timeless. And sometimes we mistake that which has had its time come and go for still being timeless. We're still clinging to the old. So as we go into today, I want to, first and foremost, I really want you to know we're going to be talking about how do you do it today. So if I were starting over again today, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how I would do it today. So those of you who would like to do it, this is going to be what we're going to rock and roll with. Here's my promise to you. You're going to learn step-by-step strategy to become a world-class, not just okay, not just passable, not just average, world-class, life-changing, badass speaker and expert, a soul stirrer, as I like to say, somebody who really can get in there and light up the spirit of a human and inspire them to make changes in their life. One of the greatest powers in the world. I got a couple of questions for you up front. Do you have a message or a story, a mission, something that's, in your heart with a passion? And you're meant to be sharing it with the world. You just don't do it, though, because you're nervous. You're scared. You get anxious. Or you just don't know how to get out and actually do it. Do you start out? I remember these days for myself, do you start out every presentation wondering whether or not you're going to do well? Afraid you might fail, but hoping you'll be able to find the energy, the power, the connection, the words, the flexibility, the humor, hoping you can find all these things within yourself so that you can be great. Do you secretly know you're worth a lot more than what you're making, but you're afraid that if you raise your prices, no one will pay them anymore? I remember that for myself. And do you worry that you'll never have the powerful presence or find your message, one that can move people emotionally? Because if you can't capture and connect people, I'll tell you this, you can't transform them. Here's the real question. Do you see other people on stage and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I would love to do that one day. Would love it. Like you secretly think this in your heart. You don't say it out loud. I realize that. You'd sound silly if you did. And you just don't have any idea, frankly, of what to do and if you could ever actually pull it off. Well, let me tell you, that's not really any of those things you're telling yourself. Those aren't really the real problem. I've trained over 10,000 people to be badass speakers and communicators, leaders. I'll tell you this, everything that they think has been holding them back. Everything you think has been standing in your way. I'll tell you this, that's not the real problem. That's one thing I know for sure. The real problem, as I like to say, is you haven't made the 5 key shifts yet. 5 key shifts. That's really what today is going to be all about. Let me ask you this. How awesome would your life be? Dream with me for a moment. Allow yourself to let go on this Friday afternoon and dream a little bit. How awesome would your life be once you make it? When you're creating your own schedule, you're speaking or coaching, consulting, training people, you're building a business as big as you want it to be. when you're conducting six-figure profit events of your own as often as you want. I'm going to say that again. When you're conducting six-figure profit events of your own as often as you want, when you're making an impact, I should say, an impact on people's lives, when you're making an impact on your audience and clients, and you're moving them emotionally to take action and ultimately change their world through your message and your mastery of this area. How incredible would it be to start speaking powerfully without all that awful fear and anxiety that, used to hold you back and all of that, and be able to make even more money in your business, or even become a professional speaker if that's something that you want to do. We'll talk about that today. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do this and make the 5 key shifts today. So again, I hope you have pen and paper. Let's get rocking and rolling. I probably just occurred to me here as I'm going through this. I haven't officially introduced myself to some of you. So who am I? My name is Joe Williams. Again, I've been a successful professional speaker and entrepreneur for over 20 years. Spoken to over 1 million people around the world during that period of time. I've actually started over a dozen companies, though. I began as an entrepreneur, took one of them public when I was 26, started speaking professionally when I was 28, and I've had the really good fortune of working with best-selling author and peak performance expert, I'm sure you've heard of him, Tony Robbins, since 1991. I've spoken and led literally hundreds of events. Many of you know me from that world. You've seen me there. Events like Wealth Mastery, I've spoken at Date with Destiny, Leadership Academy, been on stage at UPW and led platinum events for him, and on and on. Many of you, as I said, know me from that world, but I've consulted with companies in a really diverse amount of fields, such as financial services, retail, aerospace, IT, publishing, entertainment, the federal government, U.S. Department of Defense, Boeing, American Express, Ford, McGraw-Hill, Lockheed, Time Warner, all been clients of mine. I've worked personally with and trained over 10,000 people in presentation skills, and I've actually helped my clients win just through teaching presentation skills alone, helped them win over $50 billion in new business. Now, let me make sure I qualify that here, because some people look at that and they go, oh, BS, there's no way that's possible. Here's how it's possible. Remember I said that I worked a lot in the aerospace field with companies like Boeing? Well, one of the things that I did is I'd help Boeing go in, and when they were trying to win a $10 billion weather satellite system or whatever it was, and they were in the proposal process, one of the things that takes place is there's what's called an oral presentation aspect to every big proposal. So you don't have to win too many $10 billion proposals for companies, or help them win, I should say, $10 billion proposals to take you to that $50 billion mark. In fact, $50 billion is actually pretty conservative. And I just want to make sure I'm on the low side of that. And so we're going to talk, as I said today, about the 5 key shifts. Shift number 1, you must become in 2016 totally transparent. Totally transparent. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. First and foremost, this is the opposite of what most presentation trainings teach you. Now, when I was first starting out, trying to learn to speak, I went out and I took the courses. I took, Toastmasters, Dale Carnegie, bunch of different ones, and they all taught me the same thing. And that was, they taught me how to kind of give a performance. In fact, there's a lot of people still out there that are teaching this type of method. They're teaching presentation skills. They're teaching performance skills. There's trainers out there, and some of them are really very good, and they are taking the tools from the theater. They were actors and things like that, or musicians, and they're teaching people those type tools. And that's really cool and everything. They may have been really, really great on Broadway, yet the skills that it takes to be a phenomenal actor are, for most people, a lifetime pursuit, or at least a very long learning curve. Most of us are not naturally performers, actors, presenters. And more importantly, These courses try to make us into someone other than we are, someone other than you are. Now, fundamentally, I don't believe in that. They believe it or not, they try to teach you how to give a performance and not connect with humans. I'll tell you this. I don't know about you, but I've certainly found in my life, as I said, the year we live in, 2016, people's bullshit meters, for lack of a better term, are off the charts high. You can't pull the wool over people's eyes the way you used to be able to, obviously. All they need to do is Google you, and they'll find out everything going on in your world. You got to live in the world knowing that. And more importantly, people have gotten really, really, really keen to knowing when someone's just standing up and reciting a presentation or a performance versus when they're having a connected conversation with other humans. You have to learn to own your gifts. Be comfortable at being your absolute best when you're with a group of people. Now, this one may sound easy, it may sound obvious, but there's a big difference between what is simple and what's obvious and what's easy to actually do for a lot of people. A lot of us know who we are when we're at our absolute best, but we let our fear, we let our anxiousness, our trepidation when we get on stage, suddenly somebody else shows up. Maybe you've had this experience. When you're off stage, you're just fine. But the second you walk out under the lights, all those people are looking at you, staring into your soul, because that's what they're doing. Eyes are the window to the soul. And if you're looking at them and they're looking at you, they're staring into your soul. And people clamp up. Maybe that's you. And your absolute best doesn't come out. What you've got to do is you've got to find your own, as I said, your unique message and genius, your flow state. And then you got to be able to get comfortable with being that in front of a group of people, with a group of people, or on video, or all the different mediums we're going to talk about today that we have available to us, again, in this day and age. You got to embrace imperfect action. You got to get out, and this year, you got to get out and make some mistakes for everybody to see. I'm going to encourage you to do that. I'm a giant, giant fan in people building businesses today as speakers and experts of them taking imperfect action and doing it, in a sense, publicly. Get out there and make mistakes for people to see. It's going to make you more relatable, more real, more raw. More importantly, it's going to make you be seen as a leader. Because a person that's got the fearlessness to get out there and stumble and fall and make mistakes in the public eye, people respect. Now, if you're the type of person that laughs at a person like that, you might want to sign off this session right now, because I'm probably not a good fit for you to be listening to it and learning from. I'm a big fan of realness, truth, honesty, authenticity, transparency. You got to begin today creating a powerful personal brand through social media. Now, I know this one seems obvious. Let me say something else about this. I cannot tell you guys the number of clients that I have that go, "Oh, yeah, I know that. And then I say, cool. Or I look them up and I see what they're up to on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and all the different mediums. And I'm not saying you have to use every single one of them, but suddenly I find out, I go on their Facebook page and they haven't posted anything in a year and a half. Or, they aren't really, guys, the first word in social media is freaking social. You got to be social in these platforms. You got to get in there, mix it up. And what does being social mean? It doesn't just mean talking about your kids. That's cool. It doesn't just mean talking about your vacation and so forth. That's cool. You want to really have unleashed the power of social media for yourself and use it to start building a personal brand. Use it to add value to other humans' lives. The ultimate social platform is giving people value in advance. Write that down. The ultimate social platform is serving others, using it as a platform of service, using it as a platform to give your gifts, use it as a platform to enrich others' lives. And you're going to find that building a 6 or 7 figure business as a speaker, expert, coach, consultant, business person becomes a hell of a lot more easy when you're given value in advance. I'm going to give you another hint for social media, though. Short, powerful videos that give massive value in advance, as I said, have to become a ritual for you. Maybe not daily. We're going to do examine some friends of mine, some clients of mine that do it daily. But even if you just do it weekly, as a weekly ritual, it's something you're going to want to get into and do more and more. The other thing to do today is enroll your warm market. In other words, people who know you and trust you and like you and would love to help you. Enroll them to helping you build your business. I'm not talking about it in a network marketing type way, like going out and selling your warm market. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is start giving those people value in advance as well. And what you're going to find is that in many cases, even though you don't expect this back, reciprocation says that if you give me value, I'm probably going to want to give you some back as well. We'll turn that around and start doing that for all your friends, people who know you, people who trust you, people who love you. Hang out with them, relate to them, be friends with them, all that stuff that you would normally do, but also enrich their lives. Help them in any way you can, any way they need. In any way they need. Let me say that again, any way they need and they want. And you'll begin to find that what goes around comes around. The law of karma is definitely in effect in 2016 more than ever. And if you want to attract decisive clients, this is one of the most important ones that I always within myself try to stay congruent and in integrity with. If you want to attract decisive clients, you must be decisive. If you want to attract clients who are willing to pay a premium price, to grow their businesses or become healthier, if you're a health coach, or happier, if you're a life coach, or get different results if you're a business coach, then you better be willing to do the same thing in your own life. This is what I call the mirror effect. And I call that. I just heard it called that one time, and so I call it that myself. I'm not claiming that I invented that term. But the mirror effect just says, I hold the mirror up, and I say to myself, okay, if clients are coming to me, this happens all the time. I'll give you an example. People come to me all the time, and they go, Joe, I'm trying to build my speaking business, my expert business, but I just can't get anybody to pay me. Or I make them an offer and then they say, oh, I'm going to go think about it. And I say to them, that's okay, cool. You know what? I can definitely help you with that. I have a course, so we could do this, or we could work together one-on-one, or whatever the case may be. And they say, whoa. Hang on. No, let me think about it. Well, I don't know if I'm ready for that right now. And they don't hold up the mirror and see that the very thing that they're complaining their clients are doing to them is the way they're living their life and conducting their life. Now, this is natural for all of us to do this. That's why I say I stay very vigilant in my congruence and my own personal integrity in this area. I spend anywhere, oh my gosh, from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars in any given year on personal and professional development. I have for 25 plus years, some years more than others, obviously. And not every year do I spend 6 figures or more, but I spend tens of thousands every single year at the very, very least. In big years, it could be a lot more than that, as I said. And it's uncanny to me that I seem to have no problem attracting clients who are willing to be and pay premium prices to have their lives turned around. Yeah, I'm going to encourage you that if you're building a business right now as a speaker or an expert, you want to start collecting success stories. This one's a good example. This is a guy who's a friend of mine. His name is Dave. He was a client. He came to me for a couple of years ago, and for years and years and years, he's volunteered his time to an industry guru. Now, some of you may be able to relate to this. Been giving away his time, volunteering, and that's awesome. That's totally cool. I did that for years myself. I'm not saying it's bad. But he was giving away his talents for free. And he finally decided, I'm going to step into the light and I'm going to start charging what I really am worth instead of just giving it away all the time. 6 months after we began to work together, he was on stage at Google. That's a photo of him there, obviously. And he said, in December 2014, I attended Joe Williams Speakers Boot Camp. I haven't attended an event in a long time where I was not working the event and I could work on me. Attending this event has changed my life big time. By the way, some of you maybe can relate to that last sentence. Haven't attended anything in a long time where I wasn't working on me. Joe prepared me to talk at a TED in front of a camera, in front of thousands of people. Now I have what it takes. And as a result of attending this event, it's already showing massive signs of success in my life. I have more fun. I learned so much about me. And I have an action plan that's freaking working, just like Joe taught me. Dave's a great example of total transparency. Total transparency. Second key shift you've got to make is you got to save time by mastering speaking the new way. Now, what's the new way? Well, let's talk about first what the old way is. How did I do it back in the day? Those of us that got started back in the ancient times, the 90s or the 80s. For me, it was the 90s. I started out in the early 90s. Speaking did not come naturally to me. Some of you know the story, many of you don't. It was not something that was very easy for me. I'm very fair-skinned, and so I don't hide embarrassment well. I turn red as a beet, the second I get embarrassed. And so I'd go to speak in front of a group of people, and my throat would lock up, and my heart would race. I'd turn bright red. I'd be sweating. Some of you may be able to relate to this because this is how it is for most people. Couldn't find the words, forget what I was going to say, everything in the world. Now, the old way is that I then went and learned from courses was, okay, so script out your talk, memorize it, and then stand up and recite it. Become what I call a soundtrack now. I call that a soundtrack because you basically could press play on a person like that, just like you could press play on a recorder, and the same thing will come out that was recorded originally. Speaking for free or an unfair profit split, that's another old way of doing it. So when I started out, we'd speak for free and speak for free and speak for free. And over the last 10 years, it's become profitable for seminar promoters to say to people who are new to the business, hey, why don't you come speak on my stage? I can put you in front of thousands of people. You can share the stage with this person, big name, that person, big name. And in return for that favor, I'm going to let you sell your programs or your products at the back of the room. Some of you have experienced these events. We call them in the industry sell fests. And the promoter, for that incredible privilege of putting you on that stage with those big name speakers and letting you sell your stuff at the back of the room, they'll do you the incredible honor of keeping 50% of your profit. Some cases, 60% of your profit. Some cases as high as 70% of your profit for the privilege of being on their stage. People run out. I can't tell you the number of people that I've seen, new speakers, young speakers that I've seen that have frankly gone bankrupt from following this method in the last 5 years. Now, this was an interesting method 15 years ago when it first came up. Even 10 years ago, you could still make some money with it. But in the last 5 years, if you know anything about the industry, the table has turned. So you want to be careful with those things. So you speak for free or on, other people's stages for a real unfair profit split, and you work your way up. Finally, you're getting booked, or you're making $500 or $1,000 a talk, and just hoping that someday you'll cross that 5-figure mark. Eventually, those days are dead. Let me tell you that. The new way is that you focus on your strengths, your unique talents, your gifts, and also the platforms. We'll talk about this more in a moment. The platforms that you love and also that pay really well. In 2016 as well, here's what I'm going to suggest. More and more and more quickly, the old way of working with people based on some sort of cookie cutter, mass market, systematized method is dying. Every year now, it is dying. If you're looking to put together some sort of just cookie cutter, systematized, you can roll it out to the masses online product. You've been in your basement filming videos for the last 4 years talking about how you're going to get your online product out, get your funnel set up and all that. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to suggest that you're barking up the wrong tree in this year. My clients that are making 6 and 7 figures in 2 years are not doing this. I will tell you that. They work with individuals. Now, some of them work with a lot of individuals, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. But they work with a lot of individuals, yet, they do it in a very standardized way. They're not trying to jam everybody into a cookie cutter method, a mass market method. If you're doing that or you're planning to do that, I'd really like to encourage you to take a second look at that and think about, wait a minute, how can I begin to work with people more where they are? Because people are willing to pay for that more than they are right now at any time in history. So what are your unique strengths? What do you do well that could be monetized and make you wealthy and make a huge impact on the world? That's really what you've got to become so aware of. So mastering speaking the new way. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to begin designing your speaking expert business the way you want it to look. So in the old days, when I was getting started, back in the ancient times of the 90s, as I talked about, we always used to say that we went where the crowds are. Some of you may have heard that before from people who are speaking or presentation trainers. You go where the crowds are. Well, that's cool. If you want to travel, that's awesome. I had a lot of fun for a lot of years. I traveled a lot of, years, 200,000 miles. But one day I started looking around and I realized I'd kind of missed my kids growing up. And, taking a toll on health and relationships and all types of different things. And so I took a step back and I thought, this is crazy. Why am I not, I'm telling people they can design their life any way they want it to be. Why am I spending my life away from my family in hotel rooms and on airplanes? Now, let me tell you this. You can fly coach or you can fly first class. First class is better. There's no doubt about it. You can stay at the Motel 6 or you can stay at the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons obviously is better. But I don't care who you are. At the end of the day, if you're living that life, you're still on airplanes, in airports, and you're still sleeping in somebody else's bed. And for some of you that are getting into this business, I'm going to suggest to you right up front, as you're starting out, the first thing you do, and what I do with my clients, is we design, what do you want your life to be in this business? And by the way, if you want it to be about travel, then you set it up that way, and that's what you do. I'm just talking about for me and some of my other clients that, say we don't want to travel as much right now. If you do want to travel, though, it's a great way to do it. You can see the world. You get clients to fly you in first class. A limo picks you up at the airport. They take you to the Four Seasons where there's a suite. And, you usually walk in and there's a fruit basket or, a bottle of wine or something like that waiting for you there. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to live a life of travel as well if you want to do that. But if you don't want to do that, you can design your life from the start so that you can monetize, you can make money without ever having to do that old stuff. So you talk in front of live audiences. These are all the different platforms that we have available to us today. Obviously, live audiences are still our bread and butter. That's still what I do and what my clients do. But also there's video, online courses, things like that you can create. Webinars like this obviously can be monetized as well. Webcasts, Facebook live streaming. All of that is, as you see, is beginning to be monetized. Even more podcasts, radio only, audio only, I should say, radio. I have a friend, and he is getting into the business. He was a client. He came through a boot camp a couple of years ago, and he finally decided that he was going to sell out of his company that he had and go all in on becoming a speaker. And so he was looking around trying to figure out how to build his business, and he thought, I'm just going to do one thing. I'm just going to take one of these platforms that Joe's talking about, and I'm just going to master that one platform. And so he said, I can talk. I know a few people, so I can interview them. So I'm going to start a podcast. And he has exploded onto the podcast scene in the last 3 months just through the focus of that one platform. Now, the more of these platforms you use, as we'll see in a moment, the more money you can make more quickly. I call it the multi-platform marketing effect. The multi-platform marketing effect. It's not just a world of big crowds and being on the road anymore. That's my point. Your quality of life, your income, and your impact can all be designed to be exactly what is most comfortable for you, or, as they say in the tech world right now, most native. What are you most native to? Is it traveling and being on the road? If that's the case, then rock and roll. Or is it that you want to, you have young kids and you can't leave? That doesn't stop you from making a huge impact in really what I call not just the speaking world, I call it the impact entrepreneur world. The world of being an entrepreneur that makes an impact through the multiple use of all these different platforms. So consider using the impact entrepreneur event model for yourself. Now, what is that? I'll just give you a brief understanding of what that is. That's what we do and what I use and what I teach a lot of my clients to use. And that is small events with a high ticket price. That's the bottom line. There are events where instead of trying to fill a room with 100 or 300 or 500 people and going broke in the process, which I've seen a lot of budding speakers do, instead you say, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way to make money with only 10 people in the room. And by the way, make a lot of money, make 6 figures with 10 people in the room or 20 people in the room, or maybe maximum 30 people in the room. The impact entrepreneur event model, that's what we call it. Clients sometimes come to me and they say, I want to be able to perform in front of thousands. I want to travel the world. I want to be under the big lights on the huge stages. But when I show them sometimes what they can make with a small group of 10 to 30 clients, I'll tell you this, 20 badass clients could be far more profitable and fulfilling in 2016 than trying to pack a room with 200 or 300 people at $97. I'm going to suggest to you that event model is a quick route to bankruptcy for most people. Now, for some people, they can make it work because that is their business and they're promoters and that's what they do. But if that is not you and you're just starting out, consider the impact entrepreneur event model for yourself. Most of the training that we do, we teach people how to use this, how to monetize this, how to make 6 figures, 7 figures a year easily with this. So the 5 mistakes to avoid. 5 mistakes you want to avoid in today's market, not only starting out as a speaker, but also in building a business. Here's what they are. Number 1, as a speaker, lacking sincerity, realness, and authenticity. When I was starting out again back in the 1990s, we used to look at what, in exit polling, what are they saying, what do audiences say are the most important attributes of a well-received speaker? And in every single study I ever found, it was some form of the person was sincere, they were real, they were believable. I felt like they cared about me, they were authentic, something like that. The most important skill, you must remember this, of a well-received speaker is sincerity, realness, authenticity. Number 2, mistake to avoid, appearing nervous or uncomfortable. This is one that people that don't go out and just get some simple coaching in this area. I mean, this is an area that I stumbled through. Some of you may be able to relate. Trial and error cost me literally hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of my mistakes by doing it the trial and error method. Nervous and uncomfortable. The problem is, remember, public speaking is still the number 1 fear of all humans. So your audience is sitting there. Most of them fear it themselves. You're making them uncomfortable. And, remember I said that I used to worry about what if I forget what I'm going to say? Well, here's the real deal. You're going to forget what you're going to say. Any of us that are professional speakers know we forget what we're going to say sometimes. Your audience is not going to remember what you say. I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but they're not going to remember what you say. What they're going to remember is how they felt as a result of the time they spent with you. So if you appear nervous and uncomfortable, you're going to make your audience feel that way. And that's what they're going to take away from the time they spent with you. They feel nervous and uncomfortable. Plus, here's the other thing to always remember, just a little tidbit for you if you're just starting out and you still have quite a bit of stage fright issues and things like that. Put this in the back of your mind and really take this to heart. Your audience, in 99 times out of 100, your audience is on your side. They want you to be good. They don't want you to suck. Think about it. Your audience does not want you to suck. I'm always amazed when I see speakers get up and apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't normally do this. I don't normally. In effect, you're saying to your audience in advance, let me tell you first and foremost, guys, I'm going to suck. I'm going to be awful. Hope you don't mind. Hope you'll hang with me while I get through being terrible. Stop doing that, guys. Just jump in there and learn how to control those nerves. It's probably not something you're ever going to get rid of completely. It's something you want to be able, though, to use to turn on your power. You want to be able to use it to channel your best. Lacking energy. This is what in the corporate world they call death by PowerPoint. Don't do this, whatever you do. You seem unprepared or you seem too rehearsed, too practiced, and you're stale because you scripted a talk, you memorized it, and you just stand up and recite it the way you memorized it. So either unprepared or too rehearsed, too practiced, and stale. Here's a big mistake a lot of people make, though, in their businesses that I'm seeing right now is they're out trying to build businesses as speakers and experts, and coaches, and so forth, and they're kind of building it in isolation or alone. They're not getting around a peer group and other experts in their field that could support them, people that could help fast track your business. Ask yourself this. Are you building your business, in out of your house and you barely have any other interactions with anybody? Are you a part of a mastermind group? Are you a part? And I'm not talking about just an informal group of friends that gets together and, has beers every Thursday night. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a group of people that are as committed to your success as you are to theirs. It's a cybernetic loop where it's all of us or none of us. All of us are going to win or none of us are going to win. And when you come together, it is for committed times of picking each other up, of helping each other, of growing and stretching and making each other more. Again, another success story. I'm really encourage you guys to collect these. This is a client of mine named Tracy. She came through one of my very first speakers boot camps, and her husband and she had just broken up, and he left her with 3 kids, small kids, and no money at all in the bank. She knew she had to do something to support her kids, so she chose to come through a speakers boot camp here in the U.S. She's from the UK. I didn't know it at the time, but she literally maxed out all of her credit cards, down to her last dollar to be able to get here. In the first exercise, her stage fright was so bad that she fell over crying in the fetal position, balled up on stage, crying her eyes out. God bless her. She learned to take that nervousness and turn it into power. Now she's running a really successful training company in the UK. She left the boot camp all those years ago and immediately got herself 2 clients for the U.S. equivalent of $10,000 each. She's still to this day one of our most raving fans. In fact, she might be on this. I don't have the list in front of me of everybody who's on here, but she might be on today. So just to recap, we've talked about what we've talked about so far. I should say is you got to become totally transparent. You got to save time by mastering speaking the new way. The 5 mistakes and how to avoid them. Number 4, in 2016, you must command premium pricing, but add enormous value. More value than obviously the pricing that you're asking. So the old method that was called long funnel marketing as a way to start out in the speaking business, I'm going to throw down the gauntlet right now. And I'm going to tell you that is dead. What is long funnel marketing? I'm sure you're familiar with it. Okay, here's what you got to do. You got to put up a website and you got to put out a free ebook. And then hopefully some of the people that get the free ebook will buy a $9 audio product from you. And then some of those might buy a $97 online course from you. And then some of those might come to a $297 weekend long retreat with you to be able to go to a $497. Some of them are a $997 week long course with you, or on and on. That model is dead as a way to start out your business. I am going to suggest anyone that tells you that that is the way to start a business in 2016 needs to really get a clue. That was a method that did work 10 years ago, or did work even 5 years ago. But the number of people that I've seen that have gone completely bankrupt following this method in the last 2-3 years is incredible. Now, let me be very clear on this because I want to be respectful. This is a track that does work for some people. Established speakers who already have many of these products kind of on the shelf that they could just pull out and they could set up a long funnel marketing system, this is a great model for. But you must already have the products, you must be established, and you need to already have a list. I'm going to guess that if you're on this call with me today, most of you, I know some of you do have some of these things, because I do know some of you that are on this event with us today. Most of you, though, the vast majority, don't already have all those books written, all those courses recorded, all the stuff on video, all the seminars designed and all that stuff. And you don't also have a list of people, a mailing list or an email list that you can go out to with that. So this is not a way to start in 2016. This is, after you're established, this is a viable model. Let me be clear. So I'm not saying that it's dead completely for everyone. I'm saying it's dead as a place to start. Again, this is how you go from 0 to 6 to 7 figures in this year. Clients are willing to pay a premium price now more than ever because for most people, time is more valuable than money. There are only 2 reasons why, though, you're probably not charging, if you're just getting into the business, that you're not charging higher prices. Either you think your expertise isn't worth it, or you know that it is worth it, but you believe that if you change, no one will pay it. Got to remember this. You're not selling. We are not selling our speaking, our coaching, our consulting, our expertise. Think about it this way. Nobody really wants to buy another seminar. No one wants to go to really another seminar. I don't want to go to another seminar. If you really think about it, you don't just want to go to another seminar. You don't want to read another book. You don't want to listen to another audio program. What you want is a problem solved, a change, a real transformation. That is what you're selling today, now more than ever. You're selling a problem solved. You're selling a real transformation, a change. How much will people pay for a problem solved? Here's a hint. It is a lot more today because of those sell fests that we mentioned a while ago. Those events where you pay $97 and you go for 3 days and there's 1 or 2 or 3 big name speakers and then a bunch of other speakers who all of them get on there in little hour-long or 90-minute time slots. I know you guys are familiar with these sell fest events. Their attendance is going through the floor. They're dying on the vine because people are tired of being tricked. All the tools of, false tools of influence and things like that have been used on people. As I said, the buyer today, the client today is more aware than ever before in history. So this raises an opportunity for us. People are actually willing to pay now more than ever premium prices, high ticket, when there's real value and when a problem is really solved for them. Presenter trainer versus speaker leader. Here's what I'm going to suggest. That I started out in this arena. I started out as a presenter, a trainer. In other words, I was training other people on other people's ideas, other people's material. I was presenting other people's material. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. Nothing wrong with that. I got certified to be able to present this one thing. And then as I said, I worked with Tony for years and years and years. And I was presenting, in many cases, his material. In most cases, in fact, almost all of them. So there's nothing wrong with this. There's train the trainer programs and things like that. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. Presenters and trainers make thousands. Speakers and leaders make millions. You can make very good money. Please hear me out on this. You can make very good money. If you're starting out right now, you can make very good money by learning to be a presenter or a trainer. Make very good money. You make huge freaking money, big money as a speaker or a leader, someone who transforms lives, who solves problems, real, no bullshit. And by the way, solves problems quickly for people. If you can do that, you can command premium pricing. That is the way to start out now in this business from day one. You do not need to toil in unknown poverty for 15 years before you've earned the right to charge premium pricing as a speaker or expert today. Do it from day one, guys. Do it from day one. If you don't know how, find somebody who does and learn from them. So a success story here. This is a friend of mine named Mike. He's going to kind of be the golden boy story here today. He came through a speakers boot camp in 2014. He had been a very successful service industry. He had a very successful, I should say, service industry business. So what was it? They had a company that did electrical, heating, plumbing, air conditioning work, basement refurbishing, all kinds of stuff like that. Very, very successful. Had 100 technicians on the road every single day, $30+ million year business. And he decided that he wanted to show others who had similar businesses, plumbers, contractors, heating and air conditioning guys, how they can create millions as well. He started speaking at industry events. He created his own trainings. He had a podcast. He wrote books. He used as many of those platforms that I talked about a few minutes ago as he possibly could to leverage himself. And he will finalize this year. I talked to him the other day. He's on track to be somewhere between $5 and $8 million in speaking and coaching from his events this year alone, in 2 years, in 24 months, from zero to that in 24 months. Now, Mike got after it. Mike's a badass. Here's the other thing Mike is, though. Mike ain't a presenter or a trainer of somebody else's ideas. Mike is his own guy, as you can see there from the pictures. Mike's tattooed. Mike doesn't wear suits. Mike lets it all hang out, and he is an absolute leader. He is a leader. People pay money hand over fist. They say the most incredible things about it. You can look him up on social media, on Facebook, and follow this guy. He shoots videos every single day that add value to his possible client base, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day. He's a leader. That's why he makes the millions. He's not a presenter, trainer. Invest in mentoring. This is a huge one. All my life, whenever I had something I wanted to master, I found the absolute best. I learned this from Tony Robbins. He said, seek out the absolute best and learn from them. And that's what I did. When I was in my 20s and I wanted to start running ultra marathons, I went and I hired the guy who had just run 1,000 miles, set a world record. Some of you know him. His name was Stu Middleman. Stu was my trainer. He helped me work up 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles, 60 miles, 75 miles. That's about where I pulled the plug. I figured out 75 miles. He could be the guy that ran 1,000. I'd proven it to myself, but without him, I never could have gotten past 20, 25 miles. So invest in mentoring. Everybody should have a mentor. As I said, I have one at any given time. I always have a mentor because mentoring brings you 3 things. It brings you new ideas, new resources, and accountability as well. It also, though, has the magic. If you want to shift anything in life, I learned this years and years and years ago from somebody, you got to have 3 things. You've got to have immersion, where you go to an event or you go for a period of time. If you want to learn a language, the fastest way to learn a new language is to go live in that country, immersion learning. Then you need some spaced repetition. So in other words, you need to get together and work on that thing every week, every 2 weeks, 2 or 3 times a week, whatever it is. Spaced repetition, practice. You also need, thirdly, you need a powerful peer group. And mentoring, good mentoring gives you all 3 of those things. This is a friend of mine named Alex. In fact, Alex is probably on this call today. He said, having a mentor in life is powerful. I've been to Toastmasters and other peer groups, and while those were great for someone who's already skilled, frankly, it wasn't serving me to be coached by amateurs. In business, am I asking a friend for advice who isn't that successful? Am I posting questions in a forum that'll gather non-qualifiable answers? Am I collecting solutions only to feel accomplished and then put them on the shelf and carry on doing the same shit that got me where I am right now. And while gurus are out there, there are some true badasses who are busy working for their clients to create real results. I'm honored to know Joe. He's one of them. Happy to call him one of my mentors. I'm happy to call Alex one of my mentors in another way as well, one of my friends. This is a gentleman who some of you may know. His name is Peter. He came through one of the first speakers boot camps that I ever did years and years ago. And he wrote to me recently. He said around a decade and a half later, it's been an incredible journey, sharing the stage and keynoting with people such as Sir Richard Branson, several times, President Clinton, been hired by governments, the royal family members, conducted numerous TED Talks, earned over 7 figures by speaking and helping others, and much, much more. Thank you, Joe. Your legacy extends far beyond the boot camps. You've allowed the ripples of contribution to travel across the ocean of life, touching shores I don't think either of us could have ever dreamed of. My message to everyone is stop considering this. Stop considering it. Your own legacy is calling you. So here's what you need to win. You got to become totally transparent in 2016 to build a 7-figure, 6-figure business. You must master speaking the new way. You got to avoid the 5 mistakes in speaking and in business building. You got to command premium pricing from day one. Don't follow that old method that I did. You got to invest in mentoring as well. These key shifts are enough to propel you to be a 6 to 7-figure speaker or expert. So now you have a choice. Here's what I believe. I believe that speaking and being a powerful communicator, I'm not just talking about being okay or passable. I'm talking about being able to stir people's souls and inspire them to make major changes in their life, that this is the highest paid skill you can master in a lifetime, and that all leaders need it. It is the master skill of leadership. If you consider yourself a leader, you must have it. You can become a recognized expert or authority, the go-to person in your field. If you're a business person or you're self-employed and you learn to speak, it doesn't have to take you years. You can become great in a few days. When I found this out, that's why I dedicated my life to teaching people this skill that is not only the highest paid, but you can own for a lifetime. I've done it with thousands of people, but I don't work with large groups, guys. So I'm not one of these type people that, teaches you to be the greatest speaker in the world or to have all eyes on you and get standing ovations every time you speak. That's all cool. You go to those guys' seminars and their trainings and what you'll find is usually 100 people, 200 people, 500 people in the room. And the guy standing on stage talking to you about how to be a speaker. That is not the way you master this skill. This is a skill like swimming. You must get in the water. You must get in the pool with your coach, with your instructor. So I only work with people one-on-one or in very small groups. The average size of a boot camp is usually about 15 people. So I have one-on-one time. You get up and you speak, you get coached, you get better. You get up and you speak, you get coached, you get better. You get up and you speak, you get coached, you get better over and over again. I'm into transformation, guys, not information. This is not some theory that I'm going to stand on stage and preach to you. This is what is working for myself and also people I work with. So how can I help you? I don't know about you, but nothing I ever did in my life changed until I did something that was uncomfortable to me. When core transformation happens is when we step through our comfort zone. Someone said to me once, everything in life that you want rests outside of your comfort zone. And that's so true. So I've set aside some time over the next week to talk to some of you personally about how we can apply some of these things we talked about today, these concepts to your business starting today. There's no cost. There's no obligation at all. So here's all I'm going to ask from you. Here's what you need to do. You have to have an expertise and be able to deliver real value to clients. I need you to have something. If you want to talk to me, I need you to come to the table with something already that you can do, or at least have the drive and the will and the commitment to serve people and deliver real value. I'm not looking for somebody who's all about, let me get a standing ovation every time I speak. If that's all you want, go to one of the other guys. If you're all about like all eyes on me and let me just get up and tell stories, that's cool. Great. Go to one of the other guys. That's not me. I'm into helping people become soul transformers, life changers. If that's you, then we should talk. You must be absolutely committed to hitting your income goals with total integrity and true concern for your clients' well-being. You got to be a giver, not a taker. If that's you, let's talk. You must be willing to take massive action and take responsibility for your results. If that's you, let's talk. Here's what you can expect. On the call, what we're going to do is we're going to get total clarity about where you are, where you want to go, what the exact steps are that you can use to get into this business or to use speaking to build your business if you're self-employed, be able to achieve your goals. If we get together and we jive and we work out well together and we both agree it's a good fit, I may invite you to become one of our clients. I'll tell you that in advance. The curriculum is designed to make you a badass public speaker and bottom line, get you to 6 or 7 figures a year in your business. That is what we will do. That is what we will be working toward doing. I work with people in a few different ways. Both those of you that are starting out that have never been or have been considering going to a speaker's boot camp, that's one option. Those of you that are on this event that you've been to a speaker's boot camp, we should talk as well because there's a new advanced course that a lot of you have been asking for a lot of years. And I just ran it for the first time several weeks ago, and we blew it up, guys. It was absolutely incredible. Some of the people that were at that course are on this call today, I know. So here's what you could do. If you want to reserve a time for us to talk, either to myself or to my wife, Allison, you're not going to be talking to some salesman. I'm not going to hand you off to somebody else. This is me. Go to joewilliamsonline.com/call. That's joewilliamsonline.com/call. Spaces are limited. Now, what does that mean? Obviously, there's just one of me. So truthfully, spaces are limited. It's really here for about the next 3 or 4 days that there'll be some spots available. Go there. You can grab one right now, joewilliamsonline.com/call. You can sign up right now. I want to thank you so much for your time today. I hope you had some great notes and learned some great things. I hope I unsettled some things. If I stirred up some stuff inside of some of you, that's awesome. Come and set up a time for us to talk. Let's figure out what your next steps are going to be and how you're going to move forward powerfully in this business. How you're going to begin changing lives and making an impact in the world and really making the income that you really do deserve for the incredible work that you do in the world. Thank you so much for your time today. Be badass every single day. I will see you soon.